If you do not go after what you want, what you truly desire in this life, you will end up not liking yourself. Hello, Amira Alvarez here, founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman. And in today's podcast episode, we are talking about why it is so scary to claim what you really desire, what you really want. Now, many of you have heard me say that desire is causative, that you must claim your desires, that you must go after what you truly want, that you must have big goals, stretch goals, something that gets you out of bed in the morning that's really super exciting. And that is true. You also need smaller goals that are super exciting for you as well. And I'll talk about those in a moment. The point being here is that desire is the thing that calls you forward into more. It is what is the causative agent, if you will, to get you, the individual, activated enough to grow, to do the things that are required for next level growth. Because we are, as human beings on this planet, for more life, for growth, for expansion. That is our directive. And yet, many of us get sidetracked or sabotage that, and it gets suppressed, and it's not activated. And then we start feeling things like angst, irritation, resentment, frustration. We start blaming other people. We start criticizing. We start even coming in on ourselves, getting angry at others, but also getting angry at ourselves, going into depression, all sorts of negative experiences. And I have a lot of sympathy for those experiences, and yet in many ways the cause of that is not claiming what you truly desire and going after it. Now, most people don't consciously say, oh, I'm not going to go do that. There are many psychological things at play that drive this situation. So let's back up and look at part of this, which is why it's so scary to claim what you really want. So let's talk about what you really want. Sometimes we have very big desires, huge life-altering, cell realigning desires, things that like cause you to jump up in bed and go, oh my goodness, is that really going to happen? Am I really going to go for that? They're big, they're juicy, they're stretch goals. And then there are other desires that are smaller desires. And I, in my journey, had to first learn how to claim my small desires. Let me restate that because that is not entirely true. I did them concurrently, I would say. But in order to really step into claiming my bigger desires, I did have to learn how to claim smaller desires on the regular. And even though I had the big desire while I was going through this process, my actual on the ground work was in these smaller desires. So let me explain what I mean by that. For me, and some of you will have heard me share this story before, and for some of you it's new. But when I was first going on this journey, I realized that I wasn't willing to invest money on certain things in my life, particularly things that had to do with fashion or beauty or self-care. I had a money story around it and thought that I was not worthy of a $45 manicure. Now, for some of you, that's a lot of money. For others, you'll be like, oh, that's interesting. That's not that much money. For me, it was a big deal to go from one, just having a regular manicure, a $10, $15 regular manicure. But I wanted that gel manicure where your nails stayed nice for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it was, instead of chipping the moment I left the nail salon. But the thought of spending $45 on myself on nails was just like, I couldn't conceive of it, but I did it anyways. I knew I wanted it. It was a true desire, but I was uncomfortable with it. So I stretched myself. I claimed it. I spent the money, and I didn't die. And I quite enjoyed the nails, and I felt kind of cool and special, and I liked looking at them, and it was fun. And then I did it with, instead of dyeing my own hair, I went and had my hair colored at a salon. And that stretched me because I'd never spent that kind of money on myself. And oh my God, I'm going to do that every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks. Now it's like every 2 weeks. The gray is coming in. That said, I had to do these little incremental steps, like expending money on nicer clothes. That was a huge stretch for me. Going into Neiman Marcus, oh my God, I thought I totally didn't belong there, that they were all going to look at me like I was an interloper, that the people there would shun me, turn their nose up at me. I would have to deal with this truly emotional process that was about rejection and all of this. They couldn't have been nicer. The service was amazing. The people there were great. They were laughing. They were joking with me. They were helping me. And so on and so forth. Okay, so claiming your small desires do matter. Now, I gave you examples from my life around investing money in myself, because I do think it's important to look at the money piece around this, because for so many people, they don't claim what they want because they are afraid of losing money, making a mistake around money, not having enough money, what it would mean if they spent money like that, who that would make them, be. And people have lots of money stories. But desires can be around other things like how you spend your time, okay? Or they can be around who's in your life and who's not. So it's not only around money. It can be around what you eat, okay? Now, money does touch so many parts of your life, so that's why I bring it up. And I'm also a coach that helps people who have big financial desires and want more financially in their life. So I'm always looking at that piece of the puzzle. Okay, that being said, let's keep going here. You do have to start claiming your desires. And for me, and for many of you, it was not safe to claim our desires. So like I just said, I had all this internal conflict about spending money on myself, or if it was a time thing, how I wanted to spend time versus, say, how my family wanted to spend time, or my life partner wanted to spend time, right? There was like a conflict there. And if you go back to where and when your belief system got created, that is when you are a very young child, under the age of 7, 9, 12, depending on who you talk to, okay? But a very young child. And when you are growing up, you desire things, you want things. Now, sometimes you want things that your parents or your primary caretakers know isn't good for you. So they say, no, you can't just run across the street. There are cars coming. And they shout at you to stop, okay? And that is a very, everyone would agree that that is a wise thing to do. But the little kid thinks, oh my God, what have I done, right? And I wanted something, and the love just stopped flowing, and the criticism started, and I'm shocked, and what just happened? And suddenly they don't feel secure anymore, because a child's security is based on knowing that the love is going to continue to flow with their primary caregiver. That is how they know that they will be taken care of, that they will survive, that they are secure. And when I say survive, I mean life and death, have food, shelter, their nappies changed, if you will. Now, this also comes up in other situations that are less positive, let's say, or constructive, let's say, in child rearing. Let's say you want to draw something, and you finished an art piece, you finished drawing something, and you're so proud of it, and you want to show it to your mom, and your mom's on the phone and busy, and she snaps at you. Can't you see that I'm busy right now? This is so common, right? This is not an uncommon thing. It doesn't mean that mom is a horrible person, okay? Please don't go down that rabbit hole. But the child wanted something and didn't get it. And in fact, the love got cut away, okay? Got snapped away. And this happens in small and large ways throughout our upbringing. And it becomes then mapped to asking for what we want, not being safe. Now let's put this in a financial framework. What if you asked when you were a child for that new pair of shoes, or that fancy dress, or that cool, maybe you wanted a pony or a horse, right? That's a common one for a lot of little girls. Or you wanted something from the toy store, and your parents had money anxiety or couldn't afford it, and cut off the desire and said, you don't want that, or that's not good to want, or we can't, somehow negated it, maybe in a gaslighting way, or maybe in just a way that expressed their own money anxiety, but not in a way that a little kid would understand that it wasn't about their desires not being wrong, okay? So the little child then maps that asking for what you want, what you truly want, is dangerous. Someone's going to react emotionally, and that those emotions are going to be extraordinarily scary, okay? So what happens? You map a meaning there that if I express what I want, I risk my survival. Because remember, the parental units, the primary caregivers, are where your survival comes from. And when they cut off the love, you ask for something you truly want, and they cut off the love because they don't know how to handle not being able to supply that desire. You, as a little child, cannot make your parental units wrong, because they are where love, safety, and belonging comes from. So if you made them wrong, that denies them the power to keep you safe, basically. So you make yourself wrong, and you say, asking for what I want is wrong. Okay? Because it's going to risk the survival. It's going to rock the boat. Okay? We also, in this scenario, create the meaning that the flow of love equals security, which when you are a child is true. But now, as adults, that same belief system is at play, and you are therefore afraid to rock the boat with other people asking for what you want, because you think that love is going to go away, and therefore your security is going to go away. And you don't realize that as an adult, that is not where your security comes from. So our desires get suppressed. We start to suppress them to the point that we don't recognize what we desire anymore. This is such a big one. This was the case for me. I don't know that at the time I fully recognized that I didn't know what I wanted anymore because I had been, quite frankly, kind of brainwashed to want what everyone else around me wanted. And I had to relearn how to recognize what I desired. And again, some big things dropped in when I went to an event and I heard what was possible. I was like, I want that. And it was so clear to me, and it landed so powerfully for me that I couldn't unsee that, if you will. And then I started on the smaller desires as well. Okay. So claiming what you desire is this iterative process. You build that muscle and you get better at it. Okay. And you want to work the small and the large concurrently. And when you start doing this, you are making decisions that you are responsible for. And this is a big deal, guys. Okay? When you start actually claiming what you desire, not what society tells you is the right thing to desire, not what other people tell you is the right thing to desire, but what you want. You can no longer say, someone else told me this was the right thing to do, the right thing to want, and not take personal responsibility for it. When you actually claim what you want and go after it, you are responsible for that. And that is a big deal. Most people have various levels of consciousness around this, but by and large, it's mostly unconscious that we are not taking responsibility for our lives, quite frankly. When we desire something and go after it, that's taking responsibility for your life. Okay, let me give you a couple examples here. Classic one. You're told to get good grades in school and go to a good college, get a good education. Therefore, you'll get a good job and you'll be set in life. And that's not entirely not true. And yet, most people who are listening to this podcast probably wonder if there's more to life for them than that. They realize that scenario doesn't allow full growth for them. Now, I'm not saying that in a job you can't grow and become more. You absolutely can if you have that growth mindset and your desires fit into that world. Absolutely. Okay? But that is, for most people, something that they haven't consciously chosen. They haven't consciously chosen that path. They were just told this was the right path, and they went down it. And now they don't need to take responsibility for it. They actually do need to take responsibility for it. But in this scenario, they're not responsible for that decision. They did what was quote unquote right. Shouldn't the world give them what they want? Well, it turns out it doesn't work that way. Okay. And then here's a more subtle way that this comes up. And this just came up with a client who is in a mastermind with me. And she was describing the experience that she had of her family criticizing her, specific family members being in a constant state of criticism. And she had gotten to the level of personal growth herself where she was desiring something else. She was no longer available for this level of criticism, though she hadn't yet seen that when we had this discussion, but she'd gotten to that level, and it was frustrating her that she was experiencing this criticism from her family. It was no longer okay with her. I don't know that it ever was okay with her, but it gotten to a point where she was really recognizing it, like, this is not okay anymore. But then, if she wants to change something here, if she has a desire for it to be different, which she does, she must take personal responsibility for setting boundaries, okay? And this can be scary for people, because what if they do set a boundary? What if they do particularly with family members, this can be quite a big deal because it goes against the grain. You're stepping out of the rules and protocols, the default way of being that around how you're supposed to accept behavior from family members, that they can just say or do whatever they want. And you have to go along with it because they're family. But she wants to live and be in a world that's not criticizing her consistently, habitually in that environment. And so she wants that, but then she has to take conscious control of the situation by creating a boundary there. So when you go after what you truly desire and you do that in the face of the rules of society, if you will, you open yourself up to criticism because you are stepping out of the agreed upon rules. You are saying, I want this despite the people around me saying, you should do this instead. And this opens you up to the possibility that others are going to judge you. And guess what? They are going to judge you. They are going to criticize you. And let me explain this a little bit further. So when you step out and you say, I want this, even though the rules are saying I need to do this over here or this is how it's done, you're claiming what you really want. And guess what? When you go forward into more life, when you take action towards what you desire, you will make mistakes. You will trip. You will fall. You will have good days and bad days. You will be fallible. And if you go against the grain, if you will, and you make a mistake, you open yourself up to judgment. People can then wag their finger at you, okay? They can say, look, there she goes. She tripped, she fell, ha, ha, ha. That serves her. Look at her stepping out. And guess what? They will do that. They absolutely will. It's sad, but it's true. There are so many people who would rather be on the sidelines laughing and finger pointing than be on the field of play. And it's a decision that you have to make. What kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who is trapped or free? Do you want to be on the sidelines or on the field of play? Do you want to be in fear and judgment, one of the finger pointers? Or someone who's willing to go after what they want regardless of the hecklers, the people on the sidelines, ready to be critical? Freedom doesn't mean that everyone's going to like you. They won't. I promise you that. But isn't that a relief to know that in advance? Everyone's not going to like you. But do you like you? Because if you do not go after what you want, what you truly desire in this life, you will end up not liking yourself. But if you do go after what you really want, you become the person who goes after what she wants, regardless of circumstance, regardless of what other people say. Not some small version that isn't truly living. And then you fall in love with yourself because you are the person who does that and is who she truly wants to be, not some jumping through hoops for other people version of who she wants to be. That doesn't work. See, desire is causative. You want that thing if it's a true desire, because it's calling forward the full expression of who you are. And guess what? When you do that, you will be seen. And many people have a double bind around this. They desperately want to be seen for their true essence of who they are. That's a very core human desire. Yet they don't want to be judged. It's too painful for them. They don't want the criticism. So they are trapped. I want to be seen, but by definition, being seen is going to confront other people, and there will be hecklers. There will be people who criticize you. And they don't want that, so then they're trapped. I can't be seen, I can't move forward because I don't want any criticism. And the solution, if you're willing to take it, is to be seen anyways. Experience the criticism. Realize that you will not die. It might sting a little bit, and you will learn how to manage it. And a big key here is to accept that you aren't perfect. You will make mistakes. You will offend people, hurt people's feelings, put your foot in your mouth, make all sorts of mistakes, lose money, hire the wrong people on your team, all sorts of missteps. Done all of them probably. But to be fully seen, you must accept yourself in all your glory and beauty, all your magnificence, all your greatness, and also in your fallibility. They exist concurrently, and if you reject or try and protect yourself from being seen as fallible, you will never let yourself be seen. And you will never be free because you've given over your power to other people, that they can criticize you and stop you. So if you want to be unstoppable, if you want to be great in this world, you must learn how to accept yourself. If you want to be free, you must not try so hard to be someone you're not. Love who you are. The divine dichotomy here is that acceptance and growth exist concurrently. You must accept who you are, and yet also concurrently better your best, keep growing. And most people don't know how to grow without berating themselves and making themselves wrong. What if you can grow while still accepting yourself? What a pleasure that would be. So I'm holding that carrot up for you. That's what I want for you if you want it for yourself. Okay, I'm Amira Alvarez. Rock it out and be unstoppable. Thank you so much for joining us and for being a part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. I want to let you know that we've got a ton of free resources for you for scaling your business at theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. Please go ahead and check those out. And we'd also love your help in getting the message out. Share this podcast with all the unstoppable women in your life, your friends, your colleagues, your business besties. Please do that. And if you're game, we'd super duper duper appreciate a review on iTunes as well. Thanks so much, and be unstoppable.